Shalom. It's Brother YAHAWAH once again with another lesson. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto YAHAWAH, Bahashem, YAHAWASHI, Bahashem, Rakahakodash. That's all praises to the Heavenly Father in His Son's name, who the world illly calls Jesus Christ. Real name in the Hebrew is YAHAWASHI. Also want to give praise, honor, and glory to the Holy Spirit as well, which is the force and entity that makes this edification possible. I want to say shalom to all you sincere-hearted Akim and Aquat that's making your bodies a living sacrifice on a daily basis. I also want to give double honors to the apostles and elders of GMS who taught us truth and who grew well. And this morning, I just want to touch into once again, preparing our minds in the right frame of thought, in these times that we have just now entered into. And particularly, one of these times that we've just entered into is, of course, we're on the front end of Jacob's trouble. But along with that, what accompanies Jacob's trouble is scarcity, man. Right now, we know that the Lord is going to work miracles for the elect, to where He's going to make sure that we're fed. He's going to make sure that we're satisfied. As a matter of fact, let me grab that real quick in the book of Psalms. Psalms 37 and 19. And he says, I'm going to start at verse 18. Yahweh knoweth the days of the upright, and their inheritance shall be forever. They shall not be ashamed in the evil time, right? And that evil time is synonymous with Jacob's trouble. So the upright, right, the hopefully elect, will not be ashamed in the times to come, in these evil days. And in the days of famine, see that? In the days of famine, they shall be satisfied. And this is just one scripture out of many, that promises that the Lord's, the seed of the righteous will be satisfied in a time of famine, right? But along with that, the Lord will test, certain individuals. Well, He'll test all of us. He's going to put us all through that fire, in the time of these, in the time of Jacob's trouble. Like I mentioned earlier, through the Spirit, a couple of lessons, He may have it to where He tests us in a way to where you may not eat for a day or two, or even a week. He keeps you alive, right? But eventually, He will feed you, but He's using that time to basically prove you, to see if you're going to keep your mind or maintain your ways, maintain that faith, right? Because we are definitely in the time of scarcity, man. This is the time. So like, let me quiet my phone real quick. People want to start texting as soon as it happens every time, man. All right. But we're not ignorant of His devices, man. But anyway, we're definitely in those days to where, scarcity is up next, because America, is used to, having all of its desires, fulfilled whenever, however. If you hungry at 3 o'clock in the morning, you can have Go Waiter or DoorDash and, have somebody to bring you some food. Those days are damn near over, man. We're in the last seconds of that. And that's going to bug a lot of people out. People who's used to living a luxurious lifestyle, eating whenever they want to, right? And we're going to, in this lesson, we're going to recall a former experience that our foreparents went through in the wilderness, and see their mindset toward YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, right, in the wilderness, and see how it did not please the Lord, right? Because we want to glean the understanding from this, from their experiences, so we can know. That's the reason why scriptures have it recorded, right? So we can know, what pleases the Lord and what pleases Him not, right? And let me just grab these two articles real quick, and then we'll get into the scriptures. And just laying back and off of the comment I made through the Spirit earlier, we're living in a time of scarcity. Well, this is pretty much all you hear about in the news right now, is shortages, man, right? So there's end time headlines. It says, we have entered a supply chain crisis not seen since World War II. Resellers jack up toy costs by much as 400% as goods fly off shelves and freight remains stranded. I'm going to read a little bit of this article. It says the current supply chain crisis is one unseen since World War II, when there were submarines sinking commercial traders. An expert says, and it's bringing disasters for shoppers as items are being resold for more than double their cost, and shipping delays means more barren shelves. And America's used to having everything stocked up, man. Having the storehouses are stocked up. They have storehouses for the storehouses, man. All right, but this place, once again, like Daniel chapter 5, when the Lord told King Nebuchadnezzar about his empire, he's on the writing on the wall, he says, many, many tekel upharsin, which means thou art numbered, thou art found wanting and numbered and weighed in the balances. And this place is found wanting, right? It's found wanting. It says holiday shopping is expected to be especially fraught this year as buyers contend with aggressive resellers and inflated prices. Some jacking up toy prices by 40%. Basic Fund Chief Executive Jay Foreman, who has been working in the toy industry for more than 30 years, said the current situation is unlike anything he's ever seen. Yeah, the Lord is smitten this place and still smiting this place with particular plagues and shortages that these Americans have never seen or never dreamed of. See, people have always thought that America was going to be the only empire that's going to rule forever and continue to have its delicacies, continue to have things filled up to the excess, man. Not laying it to mind that just like all other kingdoms, man, it has its time to where it flourishes, and then it has its time to where it's got to diminish. It's got to be rooted out. It's just the way kingdoms operate. But there's only one kingdom that's promised to rule forever in excess, and that's the kingdom of Israel, man. And that is what's coming up next, which the so-called Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans will be the kings and rulers, right, in that province, which is, and that province covers the whole world, man. Now, let me go into this other article. And it says the ongoing supply chain crisis just reached a new level, and Biden is considering dispatching a National Guard for help. And they know, that this supply chain crisis is only going to bring, mass chaos, mass hysteria, people losing their minds. And this is why they're bringing in the National Guard, to basically create that order out of chaos, which is their plans from the very beginning, man, to basically forge the NWO. So this is why they're bringing the National Guard, and they're basically desensitizing the people's mindset, or desensitizing the people's eyes to seeing uniforms in the streets, man. Right? Because typically when you see uniforms in the streets, it's wartime. But see, they've been dispatching the National Guard, throughout these different regions in the United States, to basically condition you to get used to seeing this, because this is law enforcement, your local law enforcement. They're pretty much about to be moved out the way. Mass amount of them are already resigning, due to not wanting to get the dragon juice. All right, so they already know that they're going to have to replace them, and eventually the National Guard is basically going to be replaced with the EU. They're going to be replaced with the EU military. Right, so we're living in some beautiful but yet dangerous times. Right, and once again, you have to prepare your mind for these things, man, because when we read through scriptures like Daniel 12:1, when it says there's going to be a time of trouble such as never was since there's a nation, man, what type of mindset does it take to survive that? Now, of course, the Spirit of the Lord is going to have to rest upon us, to see us through, right? But He expects us to prepare our minds, right? And I'm gonna prove that in scriptures, man. As a matter, let me go ahead and get that real quick, because this is all I talk about right now, man. It's your mindset, because so many of our people, even a lot of us in the truth, our minds are still not in the right place, man. It's still too much folly, still too much festivities going on. This is not the time for that, man. And we're gonna have an eternity of that, but this is not we're on the wrong side. We're behind enemy lines right now, man. All right, so let's grab this in Sirach 2:17. It says, they that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts, meaning their minds, So if you claim to fear YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, you will be preparing your mind right now. And let me grab this real quick, because the Lord asked us a question in Ezekiel, right? And this question still stands today. It's Ezekiel chapter 22. And Ezekiel 22 and verse 14. He says, can thine heart endure, meaning your mind, can your mind endure, or can your hands be strong in the days that I shall deal with thee? I, Yahawah, have spoken it and will do it. So the Lord is asking you a question, right? This question is still a question mark in this verse in 2021, right? This question still is being asked today by the Lord. Can your mind endure in the days that I'm going to deal with you? And the Lord is dealing with all of us, man, from the least to the greatest. Man, woman, and child, the Lord is dealing with us. And he's asking you, can your mind endure? And so this is why it revolves around your mindset. The Lord is basically telling you to check your mind, man. Is your mind going to be able to withstand, right, the type of force, or the type of way I'm going to, deal with you, to cause you to amend your ways? So let's go back to Sirach 2:17. Says, they that fear the Lord will seek that which is well pleasing. Also like it, 2:17. They that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight. And that word humble means to bring low, to bring to the dust, to bring to the ground, right? Because the Lord is about to humble us, man. Even those who claim to be humble, even those that feel like they're humble, there's always more room to humble yourself, because we have just lived a whole life in Babylon the Great, which is the most prideful nation ever known to mankind. And if you don't think that there's still a little bit of pride inside of us, even the most sincere hearted, you're sadly mistaken, man. But the Lord is going to fully purge us out, in these days to come. Right. And that's pretty much what the whole wilderness experience symbolizes, is purging out the Egypt experience out of us, man. As Elder Yashawamba has stated, and it resonated with me, man. And I think about this almost every day, man. Right? The Lord is about to put us in that wilderness experience to purge out all the impurities, right? Because if you're used to living, my rib, she's been living in the city all her life, ever since she was little, and we moved out here to a remote. Well, I wouldn't say remote, because I mean, we got houses next to us, but it's kind of out, in the suburbs, kind of out in the country a little bit. And and she's not used to having a taco shop right downstairs, or these little delicate shops that these little eateries and all that. You got to drive out some distance to go to the grocery store, go get some food, right? But this whole experience has pretty much been experienced to where, like, now you're finally out here kind of in a secluded area, and now you have time to detach. Now you can actually hear your own thoughts. Now you can self-reflect, right? And that's what the wilderness experience basically encompassed. The Lord had to get us out of that that wicked city, and cause us to basically self-reflect, man, to see where your mind is. And that's what the times that we're entering to is pretty much surrounding. Verse 18, it says, let me start at verse 17 again. They that fear the Lord prepare their hearts and humble their souls in his sight, saying, we will fall into the hands of Yahawah and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy. Because at the end of the day, the Lord is, he's got us in his hands, man. It's not Esau that's running the show. Now, this is how the Lord humbled our foreparents in the days of old. He says, and he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger. So the Lord calls, although we read about how the Lord fed our foreparents with manna, with quail, and he had the rock to basically gush out with waters, right? He still calls us to be hungry for a little season. We didn't die. He fed us, he kept his word, but he basically kind of made us feel that fire, if you will, right? And that was an effort to humble us down, man. He says, and Esau's trying to do that on the left-hand side, right? Esau's trying to make people humble down, right? And get down with his program, get down with his agenda, right? In order for you to eat, right? And I pulled up that article. Well, as a matter of fact, I still got it up, and in this article right here, it speaks about how Biden says that we're not going to unload these ships until most or the majority of the Americans get that dragon juice. So that's Esau's way of humbling you, right? And the Lord is using this as well on the right-hand side to humble us, to see if we're going to get down with his agenda, to keep his law, such commandments, to keep our faith, man. And he humbled thee and suffered thee to hunger and fed thee with manna, which thou knewest not. Neither did thy fathers know, that he might know, Salakia, that he might make thee know that man does not live by bread only, but by every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of Yahawah doth man live. See that? So this is the reason why the Lord is about to cause us to go through that fire, to cause us, to have this time of scarcity, right? So we can know that it's simply by him and by his word that we live. It's not by Esau's bread. It's not by his dainties, not by his pleasures, that we live. And this is why a lot of our people are about to, fully, juice up and fully take that, get down this program and take that Karabna, right? It's because they believe that the way that they live is by Esau and what he provides, and a little bit of the word, go to church on Sunday, right? But see, the Lord is about to make known who's fully down with his program, man. Let me go back to this article. It says, it is the month of October, and right now many Americans are scared by the state of our national supply chains than by anything else. And see that these Babylonians are afraid, right? They're afraid of scarcity because they've never had scarcity, man. They've always lived in a life of excess. When you cook, you always got some damn leftovers. When you go out to the restaurant, you always leaving, a whole chicken leg. Well, not you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, but we don't leave no chicken legs on a plate, right? But these other people, man, they leave a lot of food on the plate because they're used to. As a matter of fact, let me grab this real quick in James chapter 5. This is James 5:5, and it says, "You have lived in pleasure on the earth, and been wanton. You have nourished your hearts as in the day of slaughter." So the Lord is allowing these people to get fat so he could have that sacrifice in Basra that he spoke about in Isaiah chapter 34. All right, I'm gonna get in the NLT. You have spent your years on earth in luxury, satisfying your every desire. And that's what America promotes, man. And we're living in those days to where this luxury, of you satisfying your every desire, that's a thing of the past, man. Right? So the reason for this video is to prepare your minds to go without particular things, man. Right? And just understand that this is only going to be a season, right? Because in the kingdom, you can read about in the Gospels, man. Read in Isaiah 60, Isaiah 61, Isaiah 62, pretty much all the prophecies, how they encompass the nation of Israel, we have everything we want to the excess, man. It's overflowing, right? So we can spend these last few moments here on earth being pilgrims, man. It's commanded that we'll be pilgrims. Let me grab that. In 2nd Ezra chapter 16. In verse 40. And he says, "O my people, hear my word, make you ready to thy battle. And in those evils," see that? "In those evils, be even as pilgrims upon the earth." And first and foremost, where do pilgrims reside at? In the wilderness. And pilgrims, they don't know when the next meal is going to be, right? They typically, eat just enough to sustain them for the day, right? And that's why the Lord is telling us to be as pilgrims in the earth in these days, man. All right, so now let's go over here to Deuteronomy. Chapter 6, verse 16. And he says, you shall not tempt Yahawah your power as you tempted him in Massah. Let's read that again. You shall not tempt Yahawah your power as you tempted him in Massah. Now, let's go into this word Massah real quick.
Strong's H 4532. Massah.
Yeah, Massah. And it says temptation, the place in the wilderness where the Israelites tested Yahawah. See that we tested Yahawah, man. We provoked him. Now, when you go into this word provoked, it means to call forth, to challenge. So our foreparents challenged the power and challenged the Lord's character by basically tempting him by not having faith, right? And why is that? Because the Lord suffered them to go hungry for a little bit. And they were like, he's not going to feed us, man. He brought us out of Egypt just to starve us, right? And that's going to be the mindset of certain of us, you know, Lord willing, it won't be us or, you know, anybody listening to this, Lord willing, that won't be our mindset, you know, and this is why we're calling to mind, you know, the acts of our foreparents of old and try to prepare our own minds so we don't make the same mistake as them, man. Because this is why the Lord didn't even allow them in the promised land. He had to allow their children to go into the promised land. Why? Because of their provoking, because of their lack of faith, man. See, you can make it this whole time in the truth, you know, when you have food on your table. But as soon as the Lord puts us inside that wilderness experience, you know, in the times to come, when it's time for us to go without certain things, when it's time, you know, for us to, you know, maybe not eat for a day or two, even when we know that he promised that we're going to eat, we start doubting. And then now that disqualifies you from taking that chariot ride home, man. So you don't want that. So he says, let's get that again. Deuteronomy 6 and 16. You should not tempt Yahawah your power as you tempted him in Massah. Right. Because just like Job says, man, this is Job 1 and 21. And said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. Yahawah gave, and Yahawah have taken away. Blessed be the name of Yahawah. And all this Job sinned not, nor charged Yahawah foolishly. Yeah, so this is the time where the Lord is taken away, man. It's the time where the Lord is taken away. The Lord gave unto us, you know, certain things, and this is the time where he's taken away certain things. And we got to still, we got to have the mindset that Job had, man, to where you still don't sin and you don't charge the Most High foolishly. You don't tempt the Most High, right? It's a time to where you got to be content with what you have, man. Let me grab this real quick. Because you not being content is a gateway to you, you know, provoking YAHAWASHI, just like our foreparents did. And we'll get into some history here in a second. This is 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6. And he says, but godliness with contentment is great gain. There's nothing sweeter than being content, man. And you're still in the will of Yahawah YAHAWASHI. You're living a godly life. You cannot, there's nothing better than that. Sirach chapter 40 says that too, man. Right? It says verse 7, for we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain we can carry nothing out. And having food and raiment, let us therewith be content. And the Lord promised us, man. When you read Matthew chapter 6, the Lord says, take no thought for what you shall eat or for what you shall put on. Is not the body more than raiment? And if the Lord can take care of the ravens and the birds, will he not take care of you? So therefore, having food and raiment, just be content, man. And when you understand and when you read the story, and I challenge you all to read Exodus chapter 16 and Numbers 11, right? And Numbers 16 as well. So Exodus 16, Numbers 16, and Numbers 11. Y'all read that in your free time. right? We're just going to touch into it a little bit today, you know, but that was our foreparents. They had food and raiment, but they were still not content, man. They were still not content. And he says, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare. This is not the time to be seeking riches, man, right? Because you seeking riches, you going all out, you know, to seek these riches that are falling. You seeking currency that's about to implode. You're seeking inflated currency. You're falling into a temptation and a snare. He says, but they that fall, but they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. It says, for the love of money is the root of all evil. And this is the reason why a lot of our people want to go down with the system, man, because they just simply love money. They love going to work and getting some money just to continue to be slaves. He says, while some covet after, they have erred from the faith, see that, and pierced themselves through with many sorrows. And I don't find it by coincidence that that word pierced appears here, man. Because we consider how they're piercing people right now, and they're going to pierce you with that charagma. You're piercing yourselves with many sorrows for the want of money, for the want of continuing in this man's system, continuing in this man's economy. So let's go over here to number 16. Let me grab my Bible, because I got a few highlights I wanted to read out of here. It's lucky for my sniffling. I got incense rolling in here, and it's still early in the morning. So let's get this number 16. And yeah, we'll get this right here. Numbers 11 and verse 1. And look at the title. The people complain. And why do people complain? Because they're not content. It says, and when the people complain, it displeased Yahawah, and Yahawah heard it, and his anger was kindled, and the fire of Yahawah burnt among them and consumed them that were in the uttermost parts of the camp. And you got to consider, man, what just happened right before they were complaining. The Lord just literally brought them out of the land of Egypt, man. He brought them out of captivity with strange wonders, with miraculous signs, you know, just rescued them from the hand of their oppressors. And here our foreparents are complaining. Now you may think, man, how could they do that? But we're going to be put in a situation just like they were, man, if not worse, right? And in retrospect, in hindsight, you know, you will be surprised. You will blush at, you know, the type of mindset that you will have as well. You being placed in their shoes, right? When you get tested through that fire. And this is why you got to check yourself now. You got to self-reflect. You got to prepare your mind. Verse 2, and the people cried unto Moses, and when Moses prayed unto Yahawah, the fire was quenched. And he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of Yahawah burnt among them. And the mixed multitude that was among them fell lusting. And the children of Israel also wept again and said, who shall give us flesh to eat? See that? So our foreparents were doubting the Lord's promises. They were doubting the Lord's his promises. Just like we know that the Lord already said he's going to feed us, right? What do we look like saying, who's going to give us flesh to eat? You're going back to, as a matter of fact, I'm about to tell you, verse 5, we remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and the melons and the leeks and the onions and the garlic. And that's what our people's about to start saying, man. We remember when we were in America just living fine. We remember when we were in this man's system, man. We had wings, we had barbecue, we had pork chops, you know. We had everything we wanted. Now here we are following the Lord, and now we hungry, man. When we could have easily went down this man's system, and we could have been eating like these other people, man. See, this is why the Lord likens, you know, this hour as the hour of temptation, because you're going to be tempted You're going to be looking, the Lord's going to have it set up to where you're going to be looking at people in this system and they're eating and you're not, right? For a season, that is. Just like our people, man. They wanted to go back to Egypt because they knew that it was food there. They just had to go back into captivity. They had to go back into captivity just to eat. So what you look like, getting that juice, getting that chip just to eat. And as soon as you eat, the Lord kills you, man. Right? So the best thing to do is just cling on to his promises. He said he's going to feed us. So we got to understand that. And we got to believe that, man. So verse 6, and they say, but now our soul is dry, meaning our soul, basically we're withering away. We're withering away. Let me grab this. Psalms 106, verse 15. Psalms 106, verse 15. Skip up here. I'm gonna start at verse 13. It says they soon forgot his works. They soon forget his works, and this is why we're constantly looking back at the former works of YAHAWAH, YAHAWASHI, and remembering them, right? So we don't forget his works. They says they waited not for his counsel, but lusted exceedingly in the wilderness, and tempted Yahweh in the desert, and he gave them their requests, right? And what was their request? To be fed with flesh, right? They were so worried about the flesh, man. YAHAWASHI says, the flesh profiteth nothing, but the words I speak unto you are spirit and they are life. Our people do not understand that you live by the word. Man does not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of the Lord. And he gave them their request, but sent leanness into their soul. So the Lord allowed them to get what they wanted, right? Of their own lust, but he still sent them leanness, right? He killed, like when y'all read that story for yourselves, you'll see how he still killed them, man. All right, so let's go back to Numbers 11. Where's that? Numbers 11 and 6. But now our soul is dried away. There is nothing at all beside this manna before our eyes. So now they're saying we ain't got nothing but this manna. So they were not content with the bread that the Lord gave them, man. And when you read Sirach chapter, let me get this real quick. I want to say Sirach 29. Yeah, this is Sirach chapter 29 and verse 21. The chief thing for life, meaning the main thing for life, is water, which he gave us, bread, clothing, and a house to cover shame. Let me see if I can pull this up in a GNT version. He says, let's see, what chapter is this? It says the necessities of life are water, food, clothing, and a home where you can have privacy. And in the spirit, this is what the Lord has set up for us. He's given us these everlasting waters, right? He's given us that food, the bread, John chapter 6, which is YAHAWASHI, clothing. We got that in Job 29 and 19, the robes of righteousness, right? And we got a home where we can have privacy, which is the house of David. He says, it is better to be poor and live under your own crude roof than to enjoy lavish banquets in other people's homes. And these other people's homes would be considered America, man. It's better to be poor right here in the house of David, right? And this is why the Lord says, blessed is the poor, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven, right? You'll much rather be poor in this in this tent of ours, in this truth of ours, than to be rich in Babylon, man. You're enjoying lavish banquets in Babylon. It says, be happy with what you have, even if it isn't very much. And that's what our foreparents weren't doing, man. In the wilderness, they weren't happy with what the Lord gave them. He gave them manna, and they was like, is this all we're gonna have? This is all we got before us, man. So he says, be happy with what you have, even if it isn't very much. And don't listen to anyone who would insult your home and family. Yeah, we don't give a damn what people got to say, man. Man, y'all just want to be some bums, man. You should be fully content in this truth. This is why David says that. Let me grab this in Psalms 119, 57. It says, thou art my portion, O Yahawah. I have said that I will keep thy words. Yeah, the Lord is your portion. He's all we need, man. He's the one who brought us life, gave us life, and he's the one who can take it away. He's our substance, man. He's it. These other things are just extras. This is what he gave us to, basically see us through. But he's the source of life. This is why he's known as the power, man. And you got to stay plugged into your power. So I may have to do a part 2 to this. I didn't know that we've been going on this long. So let me keep going for right now. Let's go to verse 10. Well, we'll just read down to verse 10. It says, and the manna was as a coriander seed, and the color thereof was as the color of bdellium. It's kind of like a brownish color. It says, and the people went about and gathered it and ground it in mills, or beat it in it, Salakia, or beat it in a mortar and baked it in pans and made cakes of it. And the taste of it was as the taste of fresh oil. And it tasted good, man. It says, and when the dew fell upon the camp in the night, the manna fell upon it. Verse 10. So you see how the Lord is feeding our people, man. Even though they were testing him, he still fed them. Verse 10, then Moses heard the people weep throughout their families, every man in the door of his tent, and the anger of Yahawah was kindled greatly. Moses was also displeased. Now, why was the Lord angered? Because here he is feeding our foreparents in the wilderness, right? But yet they were not content, man. Let's get that scripture again in 1 Timothy. And having food and raiment, let us therewith be content. And that's our power gave us that, man. So, and we had to remember this with all these shortages going on. You're not going to have, all these luxuries that you're used to having, man. And when the Lord starts taking away things, like he said in Job chapter 121, the Lord gives and the Lord takes away. When the Lord starts taking things away, you still got to be content. If not, you're going to tempt the Lord, and he's going to be poised to kill you, man. It's just that simple. Right? There's not the time to be trying to chase after riches. That's just done with, man. This ain't 2005 no more. Right? The so-called American dream is a nightmare now, man. All right, so be content. And when the Lord puts us in this wilderness experience, man, we got to continue to have this mindset of faith, right? So let me go over here real quick. Yeah, I'm just probably going to do a part 2 to this. So let me get this in Exodus chapter 16 real quick, because once again, this is going to be the mindset of a lot of our people in the days to come. It would have just been better for us to just go back to Egypt, go back to America, go back into the American lifestyle, and that way we'll be sure that we eat. Because that's all our people is worried about, is eating. What you need to be worried about eating is truth. And see, and I'll say this, the people that's eating spiritually right now is the people that the Lord is going to feed in those days. Physical food. And the people who starving right now for this truth are the people that's going to be famished in those days. See, everything works in the spiritual first, man. Right? So this is why it's important to us understand now that this is a time that we don't live by bread alone, but by every word of the Lord. And that's the importance of incorporating fasting inside of your walk, inside of this truth, man. Right? Because fasting teaches you to go without, to deny your flesh, to kill that flesh. Because all the flesh wants is carnal things. Flesh wants food. Flesh wants sex. Flesh wants money. Right? Flesh worries about things of this world, man. To hell with this world, man. This place is finished. Right? And I get tired of hearing even my own people in its truth just talk about fleshly things, man. This world is passing away. Get your mind right. Exodus 16:1. And they took their journey from Elam, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came unto the wilderness of Sin which is between Elam and Sinai, on the 5th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the Lord, you should have departed from this place already, spiritually, man, and mentally. So now the next phase of this truth is the wilderness experience, where the Lord is going to be purging out, making sure there's not 1 ounce of Babylon left in us, man. Right? Verse 2, and the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. There's going to be some murmuring going on in the time of Jacob's trouble. And the children of Israel said unto them, would to Yahawah we have died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth into this wilderness to kill us, to kill this whole assembly with hunger. So they're basically saying, let's get that NLT. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt, they moaned. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. So they would rather go back to Egypt and have all the bread and all the food they want just to die right there. He says, but they say, but now you have brought us into this wilderness to starve us all to death. See that? But see, this is just the Lord. The reason why the Lord is calls him to go without food for just for a little bit, man. It's not like he's going to kill you. He just calls them to go without food for a little bit, just to try them, to prove them, to humble them. And he's about to do the same to us, man. And this is why we got to prepare our minds for this. Because the testing of the Lord, the chastisement of the Lord does not feel good when you're going through it. Let me get that in Hebrews 12. But you got to endure it. It's Hebrews chapter 12 and verse 6. For whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth and scourges every son whom he receives. If you call yourself a son of the Lord or son of God, you got to understand that he's going to chasten you. And this is one form of you being chastened. He's going to give you scarcity, right? He's going to sustain you, but you're going to have to go without for a little bit. He says, if you endure chastening, Yahawah dealeth with you as with sons. See that? So you got to endure it. You got to endure that time of hunger. You got to endure that time of not eating or not having enough, whatever it is, man. It says, for what son is he whom the Father chasteneth not? But if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers, then you are bastards and not sons. See that? Now let me skip down to verse 11. He says, now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous. So you being whooped in that very present moment does not feel good. It is not joyous. It says, but it's grievous. It's going to feel horrible, man. It's going to feel horrible, but you got to still keep the faith. You still got to understand he is going to feed you. It says, nevertheless, afterward it yielded. See that? Afterward. So there's a promise. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. If you endure that chastening, although it doesn't feel good, it says, nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceable fruit of righteousness. Why? Because you have been fully purged. You have been fully purged. He says, unto them which are exercised thereby. See, this is why, let me get that again in Sirach chapter 2. Right? Repetition is the key. This is the time to make sure you understand what you say you understand. This is the time to understand the basic milk of the truth. And I'm speaking to myself as well, because it's going to be this that's going to see us through, man. Simply keeping the faith. Sirach 2 and 17. They that fear Yahawah will prepare their hearts. And this is a form of us preparing our hearts. You're reading about the mistakes of our foreparents. You also read about the successes, right? Read about the things that displeases Yahawah and read about the things that pleases him not. Right? So they that fear the Lord will prepare their hearts or their minds and humble their souls in his sight, saying, we will fall into the hands of the Lord and not into the hands of men. For as his majesty is, so is his mercy, man. Right? And the Lord, once again, ask you a question till today. Can your heart endure the days I deal with you? Right? Because as you can read through these stories, man, a lot of our foreparents' hearts, their minds could not endure that chastening. They could not endure when the Lord was dealing with them. So this is the time to where we got to prepare our minds, you know, and forge our minds with this truth, man. Understand that we do not live by bread alone. We got to understand that when the Lord starts dealing with us, man, then it's the time for us to prove our way. Let me grab that real quick. In Job 13 and 15. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. Because the Lord is gonna feel like he's slaying you, man. It says, though he slayed me, yet will I trust in him. You still got to trust him. But I will maintain my own ways before him. See, you still got to keep your faith. You got to maintain what you say you believe, man. Right? In the heat of the moment. It's the whole reason of him giving us faith, man. Faith wasn't just for you to be comfortable in Babylon, for you to go to camp and have wing bucket or whatever, you know, afterwards, and just think that this is just how it's going to be until he just come take us home. No, there's going to be a time to where your faith is going to have to be used, and we're living those days to where it's about to be made manifest who truly has that faith, man. So with that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. Till next time, DTA, Baba Shalom.